Liverpool smashed the transfer record. Alexander Isak arrives for £130 million. Gianluigi Donnarumma signs as Manchester City's new number 1. Jadon Sancho swaps Old Trafford for Aston Villa. İlkay Gündoğan heads to Turkey, and Randal Kolo Muani joins Tottenham. All that and loads more in today's episode. If this video hits 350 likes, I'll sit down straight away and start working on the next one. Let's jump into the latest transfer rumors. Alexander Isak, Liverpool's record signing. Scratch that, the biggest signing in British football history. £130 million, and the Swede is at Anfield. No drawn-out saga, no endless talks. Just straight cash on the table, Liverpool saying, take it, done. An all-in move from a club that didn't even look desperate for a striker. Ekitike's in, Gakpo can cover. But no, they wanted Isak, not finesse, not dribbling magic, but raw power. A wrecking ball for defenses. This is the kind of signing that flips the odds instantly. Bookmakers see Liverpool as title contenders. And yes, we're used to crazy Premier League numbers, but £130 million for a player who wanted out, who had personal terms locked in ages ago, and who was pushing Newcastle. That's wild. And Newcastle, already down €85 million on Woltemade, so cash was urgent. Liverpool didn't haggle, they went even higher. Makes no sense. But here we are. The stats, 27 goals last season. Elite. But if he doesn't deliver that immediately, the price tag will crush him. And lads, speaking of pressure, you're watching without subscribing. Don't do me like Newcastle. Hit like, hit subscribe, comment below. Costs you nothing, helps me massively. Meanwhile, poor Ekitike started strong. 3 goals, an assist. Then Liverpool dropped the league's most expensive striker on top of him. Imagine that conversation with his agent. Nightmare. And here's the kicker. Isak now costs more than Osimhen. Napoli only banked £75 million, despite demanding twice that once upon a time. Liverpool just threw £130 million down. 6-year deal. New record. All the pressure on Slot. You don't bench a £130 million man. So let's see, new Anfield hero or the Premier League's priciest flop? Jadon Sancho, Aston Villa's new signing. That's it, deal closed. A straight season-long loan, United let him go, Villa take him in, no buy clause attached. At last, this saga gets a full stop. Even though for months it looked doomed, Sancho's wages were always the killer. £250,000 a week for a winger who's been benched more than he's played, out of reach for most. Chelsea passed, Roma passed, Napoli too. They asked, they looked, then walked away as soon as the numbers came up. But Villa pushed it through. Agreement locked. They'll pay 80% of his wages, around £200,000 a week. United chip in another 50. And Sancho himself? He'd been raving about Villa Park long before pen hit paper. He wanted this move, not just to run from Old Trafford, but to play for Emery. And that fits. Emery has a track record of reviving lost talents, and Sancho needs that lifeline badly. Form? That's the gamble. He hasn't been top class for 3 years. At Dortmund, he was electric. At United, just flashes. No rhythm, no structure. It turned from a form issue into a character issue. But Villa badly need his profile. Direct, explosive, fearless. Their season started poorly, depth is thin, creativity's missing. A loan like this makes sense as an immediate fix. His United contract runs until 2026, but this feels more like goodbye. Old Trafford isn't waiting for him. If he thrives here, Villa will almost certainly push for a permanent move. If not, it won't even be called a flop, just a quiet ending. For now though, Sancho's back in the Premier League, back in a starting 11, back with one last chance to prove himself, maybe his final shot. Randal Kolo Muani changes clubs once again. And once again, not on a permanent transfer, but on loan. This time, he's heading to Tottenham. The North Londoners struck a 1-year deal with PSG. No option, no obligation to buy. The cost? Around €5 million. For Spurs, that's unusual business. They usually focus on long-term deals, not short-term stopgaps. But here, the circumstances are special. The 26-year-old Frenchman spent half of last season at Juventus, scoring 10 goals in 22 games. He impressed, and it looked like Juve would take him permanently. Instead, the move collapsed. PSG had already lost faith, he was out of the squad, and then Tottenham came knocking. David Ornstein confirms it. agreement reached, personal terms settled, medical done. For Spurs, Kolo Muani offers more than depth. He brings Champions League pedigree. He can cover every role in attack, and that's vital for the season ahead. It's also their 8th summer edition. Spurs are clearly planning heavy rotation, and they don't want to lean on just 1 or 2 strikers. Transfermarkt rates him at about 30 million euros. Spurs got him for 5, though only on loan. Some will argue, why take a player you can't keep? But Spurs have gambled on the here and now. The aim is simple. He delivers this season, then they'll see what happens. PSG had already given up on him. Juve showed he can find the net. Now it's about how fast he adapts in North London. Yes, it's an unusual move, but Kolo Muani still strengthens Spurs' attack and adds flexibility. Bottom line, PSG offload a surplus striker, Spurs gain a versatile weapon, and Kolo Muani gets another shot at proving he's Champions League quality. İlkay Gündoğan is on the verge of joining Galatasaray. A city legend, the man who once won finals, could now move to Turkey on a €5 million salary for 1 season. Yaz Sabuncuoglu says the agreement with the player is basically done, just formalities left. Once Gündoğan gives the nod, City will approve the move. Galatasaray weren't a surprise. They've been chasing him all summer. Patient, determined, and it paid off. Saudi clubs tried, MLS showed interest, the Bundesliga and even Serie A were mentioned. But in the end, the Turks pushed hardest and got closest. City, meanwhile, aren't blocking it. His contract extended automatically after last season's appearances, but Pep has moved on. With Reinders and Nico Gonzalez signed, the midfield is refreshed, and at 34, İlkay isn't the centerpiece anymore. Guys, before we go further, drop a like and leave a comment. It keeps the channel alive and pushes these videos out to more people. So here we are, another veteran of Pep's golden years heading out. Once a tactical cornerstone, now it's a standard farewell. Thanks for everything, best of luck. The deal could be wrapped up fast. Turkey's window is still open, but truthfully, it feels done already. Just waiting for the announcement. Marco Asensio is officially a Fenerbahce player. The move was completed right at the transfer deadline, with both clubs confirming the deal. The Turkish side agreed a permanent transfer with PSG, with the fee reported at 8.5 million euros. His contract runs on a 3+1 basis, so the Spaniard will spend at least 3 seasons in yellow and blue. The 29-year-old midfielder joined PSG in 2023 after leaving Real Madrid following a successful spell at the Santiago Bernabeu, but he never managed to establish himself in Paris. Luis Enrique made it clear Asensio was not part of his plans. He spent the second half of last season on loan at Aston Villa, where his record was decent: 8 goals in 21 games. Now Asensio returns on a permanent deal, joining a side going through major changes. Fenerbahce recently parted ways with Jose Mourinho after missing out on the Champions League, and are now focused on rebuilding the squad. Marco will wear the number 21 shirt and reunite with Milan Skriniar, who also moved from PSG to Istanbul this summer. Manuel Akanji is leaving Manchester City. Yes, the reliable Swiss defender who covered everything. Center, flanks, wherever Guardiola needed. City and Inter have finally agreed. It's a loan with an option to buy, which turns into an obligation if 2 conditions are met. Which ones? If Akanji plays at least half the matches and if Inter win the Scudetto. Ambitious indeed. Here's why it happened. Akanji still had 2 years left on his contract, played 40 matches last season, and Pep values him. But at some point, he became surplus. Gvardiol is now the main man in central defense, and Kusanov is the project for the future. And with Guardiola, if you're not in tomorrow's plans, you move aside. Inter weren't just passing by. This isn't a random impulse buy. Their defense is, let's say, in autumn mode. Acerbi is 37, De Vrij is 33, and the squad needs refreshing before the veterans' bus breaks down on the way to San Siro. Akanji fits perfectly. He's experienced, versatile, and should adapt quickly to Serie A. Inter will pay just 2 million euros for the loan. The wages will be shared. If it all works, the buyout is set at 15 million euros. Looks like good business, especially if he goes straight into the starting 11. The deal's agreed, only formalities remain. Fabrizio, as usual, reported first. So it's all but done. Akanji is now an Inter player. Gianluigi Donnarumma is heading to Manchester. Done deal. City and PSG have agreed a transfer worth 30 million euros plus bonuses. The Italian keeper signs through to 2030. His wages? Almost the same as in Paris, 13 million euros net, with another 2 on top in add-ons. Not bad at all. Here's the twist. City sorted terms with him a month ago, but they waited. Why? To settle Ederson's future. Now it's clear he's off to Fenerbahce, and Donnarumma walks straight in. Classic domino effect. Fabrice Hawkins broke the story. Romano followed with the extras. Medical in Italy, then straight to Manchester after the September break. Donnarumma himself is buzzing about working with Pep, but here's the catch. Guardiola's mantra is well known. The keeper in his system must play like an outfield player. First touch, composure, distribution. Without that, you're done. Donnarumma, brilliant shot stopper, world-class reflexes. But his passing game has always been shaky. That's why some City fans aren't celebrating just yet. And speaking of no celebrations, I've got the same face when I see regulars watching these videos without subscribing. Go on, fix that now. Your sub would fit this channel far better than Donnarumma's passing fits Pep's tactics. Still, he's only 26, the perfect age for a keeper. Already a Champions League winner with PSG, and City get him for less than they once paid for Ederson. That's top-level business. And maybe, just maybe, this isn't about Pep at all. Talk is growing that this could be his final season in Manchester. If true, the debate over Donnarumma's style doesn't matter. The next manager just needs a world-class number one, and that's exactly what Gigi is. Think about it. A player once seen as PSG's future leaves for 30 million euros. Shocking, but inevitable. No new deal agreed. Luis Enrique made it clear he was expendable. Donnarumma waved goodbye to Paris back in August, and now he's off to what might be the perfect move. For City, it's cold logic. Secure the position that wins titles, style questions aside. If he brings trophies, the rest will take care of itself.